Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins. Welcome to the Black Financial Channel. That's theblackfinancialchannel.com. I wanted to give you guys an update and a briefing on what's happening in the stock market. Today is June 9th, 2020, and the market is pulling back a little bit. A lot of the money that was made this week has disappeared, and but it's not disappeared completely. The drop is not nearly of the same magnitude as the rise. So a lot of you who made big money last week and the week before and the week before that, you know, it looks like it was still a good move for you. And now, one of the biggest things that people are debating right now is whether or not the market is going to plummet again. What's fascinating is that Robinhood, which has one of the most popular investment apps that's out there, is basically saying that a lot of the young people and the millennials on Robinhood actually made money when the market took off in a way where a lot of billionaires missed. A lot of billionaires and hedge fund managers missed the recent rocket of the market because they thought that the market was going to drop. They felt that the market was overvalued. They think that the recovery, the economic recovery, is overpriced in the market, and that the stock market has gotten a little bit too optimistic. That's not an unreasonable belief. It's not. You know, there's a lot of questions about this economic recovery, a lot of uncertainty. One of the things that's really still a big puzzle for a lot of people is this jobs report. Last week, the big mover, the big thing that caused you guys to make so much money if you are an investor, and most of you are investors if you're watching my channel. If you're not an investor, I need you to invest. The big factor that moved your portfolio was the jobs report. America was expected to lose another 8 million jobs ever since, you know, people decided for some reason, which was a harebrained idea, to shut down the entire economy over COVID when they could have managed it and just, you know, kept things going, but still just controlled the virus. But instead they shut everything down. So 40 million people were out of work. So they're expecting another 8 million jobs to be lost. And instead of losing 8 million jobs, they actually gained 2.5 million jobs. So a lot of people are scrambling to figure out if this was just a big mistake or something. But if it wasn't a mistake, it really just speaks to the fact that you're dealing with your knowns, your unknowns, and your unknown unknowns. That the information that people have is just so crazy, so uncertain that nobody knows what the economy is going to look like after this is done. I invested consistently all through the drop and even after the rise, and I'm going to just do that consistently because I believe that a lot of the fundamentals of the American economy are going to be there. And also because I'm thinking 5-10 years down the line. I'm not thinking, how am I going to make money by Tuesday? I'm thinking, you know, will my kids have money in the year 2030? So that's how I think. That's how I invest. That's why even if, you know, things crash, it doesn't bother me that much, because you just consistently invest, and that's how people build wealth. So on Robinhood, what's interesting is that there's a story about a guy who flipped his he flipped his sister's stimulus check and turned it into $10,000. So he took the $1,200, turned it into 10 grand. That was pretty interesting. And so they mentioned here a 26-year-old Robinhood trader who made $1,500 in less than 24 hours by buying into a lot of the airline stocks. And I made a lot of money on airline stocks because I felt that the airline stocks had been beaten up really bad to the point where they were significantly undervalued. I do believe that people are going to start flying and taking cruises again. I really do. And so, you know, when I see a company like a Royal Caribbean, you know, that maybe was priced at, you know, I don't know, let's say it was $70 a year ago. I don't know what it is. I got to go look up Royal Caribbean. And now it's priced at, you know, 25 or 30. I don't see any reason why you can't consider 50, 60, 70 to be reasonable price expectations on a stock like that. There's nothing that's changed about Royal Caribbean in terms of, you know, the management structure, the assets that they own, the way they do business. The only thing that's a question is whether or not the market is going to return. And so, with Royal Caribbean, for example, among others, a lot of the customers that were going to take cruises before us are still going to take cruises eventually. And what Royal Caribbean did, and this is just one company in particular, is they didn't actually have to give refunds. I had a Royal Caribbean cruise scheduled for my honeymoon, and we didn't get a refund. We didn't even want a refund. We wanted to take the cruise. We wanted to go. We just wanted to be safe. So what they said was, look, let us clean this up. Let us fix this. And how about we give you a 125% credit on a future cruise? And so we were like, oh, great. That's awesome. Like, yeah, let's do it, right? So when they gave the credit, they didn't lose any money, right? And we got our cruise, and we're still going. We're not afraid to go, right? So that to me is the story of a lot of this. I don't think people are going to stop flying and stuff like that. So I think that, the millennials on the Robinhood app might have seen something the billionaires didn't see. But it's more of a fast money sort of thing, right? So here's what else they said here. They said there's a guy named Godbolt who says, I just started taking it seriously about 2 months ago, and I've been watching American Airlines since the beginning of that time, and I felt eventually once COVID relaxed, markets would move up, which was a good assumption. And that's where he's the guy that flipped his sister's stimulus check into $10,000. Robinhood traders live up to their outlaw name during the coronavirus market downturn. The young investors book profits trading stocks with some of the best returns in the past 2 months, while other Wall Street veterans were left scratching their heads. There's nothing like momentum begetting momentum, Tim Welsh, founder and CEO of wealth management consulting firm Nexus Strategy, told CNBC. The aspect of just access is really driving a lot of this. And the whole upward tick in the markets, again, just fuels demand. So what he says is that thank you for telling me where Royal Caribbean is, Trusty. I didn't know where, I don't know where it was a year ago. I said 70, that I pulled that number literally out of the air. Maybe it was 120. I'm willing to bet you that Royal Caribbean was worth more a year ago or 6 months ago than it is right now. And that's my key point. That's what I mean. And so that's interesting, right? So what they're kind of arguing here, and this is fascinating. It makes me, I spent 10 years just doing nothing but academic research on stuff and writing research papers. I don't do that anymore. I just like to teach black people. But, but if I were still in the lab doing research, I would research this. How much is this additional stock market participation through apps like Robinhood changing the dynamics of what stock prices respond to? I wrote my dissertation on what they call momentum trading, which is, when stocks are moving up, are there things that cause it to keep going up? And then also, are there reversals? Meaning if they go down, can you expect them to come up? And there's a lot of evidence to say that trading on reversals alone is a great way to go, especially upward. Meaning, when there's a crash, you buy more stock when the market crashes, and you make higher returns. I've always believed that to be the case, and that's how I've always traded. But there's also that momentum thing that says, look, if I go out and a million people see that American Airlines returned 100% last week, which it literally did. I didn't realize this, but I went into my portfolio and saw that I made 100% return on my American Airlines stock, meaning the price doubled in a week or something, or maybe it was 2 weeks. And I talk about that. Does that cause other people to say, ooh, I want to buy into that? Right? Or if the price drops a little, because usually when things go up, they kind of go down a little bit. There's a little cooling off period because people do what they call profit taking. They start selling because they're ready to get out and stuff like that. So when that little dip occurs, are people going to come back in and start buying because they're like, oh, it's cheap again. It's cheap again. I want to buy it. I don't want to miss out. So I don't know. This morning I ordered some coffee through Uber Eats, and so I had it delivered to the hotel because the hotel didn't have any room service or restaurants open or anything. And in fact, I think Embassy Suites is ripping people off right now because all they got is just the room, no maid service, no food, no nothing, just the room. But they're charging the same price, by the way. And so anyway, so the brother that delivered my coffee happens to follow the channel, and he said, yeah, me and my boys were sitting around talking about investing, and he said it was great, brothers sitting around talking about investing instead of talking about girls and cars and shoes. And I said, yeah, that's great, man. I'm really proud of you. And he told me that he'd made a bunch of money from the airline stocks, and he sold. And he said, yeah, my boy, made $10,000 last week, and he went to Vegas. He's in Vegas right now. So what I think is interesting about this, and this is what I'm going to really sort of discuss this dynamic, and this is more of a conversation for new investors or millennials, but everybody can get something from this, is, I think you want to think twice about thinking of the stock market as a place to get quick money that you can then go and buy things with. I encourage you to also consider the fact that what you're doing is you're building capital. And when you build capital, capital is not meant to be, tricked away. You're not supposed to trick it and go make it rain at the club. Capital is supposed to be preserved. The wealthiest families in America, the way they become extremely wealthy is they build a bunch of capital and then they protect their capital. Harvard University has a $40 billion endowment that protects the university from any economic fluctuations, right? So your family should have an endowment, just some capital that you're preserving, that you've got in some safe investments, the long-term investments. And so he said, when's a good time for me to sell my stock? And I said, well, I don't know. There's a lot of philosophies on that. I'm never going to sell some of my stocks. Some of my stocks I've been holding for years. I'm going to hold, maybe a whole generation. Maybe in 50 years, I'll have a grandchild who'll say, yeah, my grandfather bought, a bunch of shares in this company 50 years ago, and now they're worth 100 times more than what they were back then. So, for example, if you had bought a bunch of shares, if your grandparents had bought you a bunch of shares of Coca-Cola stock in the 1940s, you'd be a millionaire right now, right? So I'm not telling you what way to do it. I'm just want to make sure you see that there's different ways to kind of think about this. But here's another interesting thing. This was an insight that I came to literally just today. I'm always forming new ways to kind of think about this, even though I've been doing this for 25 years. Here's one thing I'm thinking about. I'm gonna think about this out loud, so hopefully I won't sound totally stupid. I've talked about things like day trading and heavy options trading, and I've expressed the risk of that kind of thing because it can be very stressful. It can turn into a type of gambling. It's not something where money is automatically going to come out. Like Forex trading, for example. Forex is not something that it's easy to just make a bunch of money. I know people will tell you different, but just know I'm a PhD in finance, so I know a few things that they don't understand about the dynamics, and I can just tell you Forex is not as straightforward as equities. But here's the thing. Let's say that you are a guy or a woman that wants to just dabble in the market. Let's say that you're not into this whole long-term investing thing. Like you're like, oh, screw Dr. Boyce. He's talking about this long-term generational wealth crap. I don't want to do that stuff. I want to make some money, some fast money next week. Well, you know what? You're not totally wrong. You're not entirely wrong. You might be more correct than me, and let me explain why. Let's say that I'm a young guy, 28 years old, and I'm making an extra $500 a month or whatever, right? I got some, or $1,000 a month. And let's say that normally I would have taken that money and I would have went out and spent it. I would have spent it at the club. I would have spent it on some girls. I would have spent it on some shoes. I would have spent it on whatever. Well, when I go spend my money, I don't get a very good return on my investment. In fact, it's not an investment at all, right? Spending is not an investment. So I'm spending my money. I get some shoes. I get some clothes. I impress some girl. But what do I have to show for it 5 years later? Absolutely nothing. However, let's say that, I watch a Dr. Boyce video and I get inspired and I say, I think I want to invest a little bit. I want to kind of play the market some, but I don't want to do this long-term stuff. I just want to see if I can make some money fast. And maybe some months you make money, some months you don't. But here's the deal, right? That's a better move than spending money, right? Investing is almost always better than spending because at least with investing, you've got some chance that the money that you put in is going to come back with friends, right? Your dollar bills are going to go out and get friends and recruit other dollar bills, and that, $1,000 you put in can turn into $2,000 or $3,000, right? You've got that upside, right, that can possibly occur, especially in the market right now where there's a lot of stuff going on, right? But you got the downside too, right? Maybe you buy the stocks and they don't go up. Maybe they go down, right? But at least you own something. At least you have something, right? At least you poured your money into something that sustains itself as opposed to giving it into something that isn't going to give you anything. And even if you're doing options, which again is something where you can make a lot of money really fast, but you can lose it all, right? But even options are better than, going to a casino. Casinos, the odds are against you. If you're a researcher in stocks and you buy options, you've got a much better shot at actually making money. Again, especially in an economy right now, or let's say that you're in a class, like, you're studying in the Black Business School, and I'm telling you which stocks I'm picking, and I'm giving you my research or whatever, and things like that, and you buy options based on that, then you've got a much better shot of making money outside of, the other stuff that you might be doing with your money anyway. So that's what I would say here. It's almost like politics. You know how they always say, whenever I come out and I say, why are we voting for the Democratic Party, man? Why would we do it, right? So, but people come back with an argument that actually makes sense. They'll say, well, it's better than the Republicans, right? And now I don't agree with that completely, right? Because I believe you also have the option of not voting at all. But let's just focus on that, right? You're actually making a decent point in that you're saying, at least what I'm doing here is better than what I was doing over there, right? So when it comes to investing, even if you invest badly, even if you take a lot of risks, even if your money goes up and down, even if you make some, lose some, make some, lose some, I think that's better than spending. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you follow what I'm saying. Give me a yes if you get what I'm saying, right? I think that that an investor's mentality on some level is almost always better than having a mentality that makes you a 100% consumer. Consumers get screwed in this economy. If all you're doing is consuming, all you're doing is spending your money on stuff, and you're just buying stuff that has no value later on, or you can't even remember you had $30,000 3 years ago, and you don't even remember what happened to any of that money that you made that year. That's not how you want to live. You want to be able to say, these are some things I've done, these are some moves I've made, and these are some things that have put extra money in my pocket. And then also you want to have some long-term capital accumulation, right? So I thought about all this as I was thinking about millennials and Robinhood, and how the millennials actually made more money, relatively speaking, in this recovery than a lot of the billionaires. I didn't understand the billionaire hedge fund managers who sat back and said, I'm not participating in any of this. John Rogers is in Chicago. He's a billionaire out of Chicago, smart black man. He actually said that this was one of the best buying opportunities in American history. I agreed with John, and so I was buying everything. But there were some billionaires. Warren Buffett said, I'm not buying anything because I don't trust this recovery. And I said, what do you think? This doesn't make any sense. So, I think you did good, and I'm happy for you. A lot of you made money, and I think you're going to keep on making money. And I think if you're digging in as an investor, even if you're a bad investor, even if you don't invest with the style that I recommend, I applaud you. And I think that you're doing something better than a lot of other people your age, especially if you're somebody, say, under the age of 35. Now, if you're over 35, same thing really applies, honestly. Anybody who's new to the game, just keep moving forward, keep believing in yourself, and keep being consistent. And I believe that you're going to be better off, far better off, than people who don't even take the time to learn anything about investing. Okay. So by the way, I'm going to go, guys, but two things I want to mention to you guys. One, we're having a black movie night on Friday, June 12th, where instead of watching a black film, we're going to actually watch two speeches by Malcolm X, The Ballad and the Bullet, and the House Negro and the Field Negro. And I'm going to prepare a lecture on those two speeches. We're going to break them down and really think about how they apply to the environment that we're in right now with all this wokeness and politics and economics and everything else. Like, let's finish Malcolm's work. Let's get together as a team and finish the work of Malcolm X. So you can join us on June 12th at 8 p.m. for free. Register at blackmovienight.net. That's blackmovienight.net. Normally we show a black-owned film. This week we're going to show Malcolm X, and that's going to be our film for that day. Second of all, if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock yet, you can go to firstshareofstock.com. There's a training on there, free training. It's very, very good. People love it. Totally free. You can go to firstshareofstock.com. And if you already know how to buy stock, you still might benefit from going through the training because it'll show you kind of around the Ameritrade app and everything else. And also you'll be on our list and get all the free stuff that comes from the Black Business School. We're almost at 100,000 students, and so we'd love to invite you in. We think we can make your life better, so please feel free to take a look. I can't post the link. I see why YBC is asking me to post the link. I can't. I got big fat fingers, and you're on my phone, and if I try to type, I'm gonna end up breaking something. But anyway, it's blackmovienight.net. Somebody please type that in. That's blackmovienight.net, and also firstshareofstock.com. Somebody type that in, firstshareofstock.com. Okay, guys, I'm out of here. Have a good day. I'll see you soon. Be good. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boy's TV. Here we are.